Hello sports fans, welcome to Super Sports Central. Today we're going to be going over my top 20 NFL running backs. So starting off with a few honorable mentions, we have A.J. Dillon, Josh Jacobs, and Kareem Hunt. Coming in at number 20, we have Leonard Fournette. So he's a good solid running back. He's not the kind of running back that's going to wow you with big plays or long runs, or the explosive running back he was earlier in his career, but he's still going to get the job done, plus he's improved as a receiving back over the past few years. Coming in at number 19, we have Damien Harris. So he's coming off a strong campaign last season. He was very efficient, had 15 touchdowns and only 202 carries, which is the fourth fewest carries by a player to have 15 plus touchdowns. But Damien Harris could be losing some of his work to second-year running back Ramondre Stevenson, but right now he comes in at number 19. Number 18, we have David Montgomery. So he's a good running back. He had a breakout season in 2020 and followed it up with a not good 2021. But David Montgomery is in an unfortunate situation with the Bears, as he's behind a terrible offensive line with essentially nowhere to run. So he's not going to be very efficient because, as I mentioned, he's going to have nowhere to go. 17 is James Robinson. So he got off to a great start to his NFL career, running for 1,070 yards as an undrafted free agent as a rookie, and then followed it up with 767 yards and 8 touchdowns last season, but that was cut short by an Achilles injury. So now he's going to be sharing the backfield with Travis Etienne. So his production may drop, but he's still a very, very talented running back. And I'm really interested to see how they're going to split him. I think they could both end up being really good running backs. Number 16 is Javante Williams. So he is a guy that's going to make you, he's just going to run you over. He's a very powerful running force. He's 63 missed tackles were the second most in the NFL last year, and his 694 yards in the NFL were 8th. So he's not going to shy away from contact, and I feel he's the future of the running back position at the Broncos. But unfortunately for us fans and for Javante Williams, we're going to have to wait at least another season to see him not have to share the backfield, as Melvin Gordon re-signed in Denver, so he will be splitting with Melvin Gordon. Number 15 is Elijah Mitchell. So he had a great rookie season with San Francisco, running for 963 yards in 11 games as a rookie. And that's also with Deebo Samuel taking some rushing opportunities away. The only concern I have for Elijah Mitchell coming into year 2 is the 49ers never seem to stick with their number 1 running back back-to-back years. Because when you look at their leading rusher, I know some has been to injuries, but they haven't had a running back lead their team in rushing yards back-to-back years since 2016. Number 14 is Antonio Gibson. So he's a very, very talented running back. He could be a do-it-all back. I think the Commanders have underused him. I think he could also be a great pass catcher, but they, for some reason, really, really like J.D. McKissick as a pass catcher. And now they also drafted Brian Robinson out of Alabama. So how interested are the Commanders in having Antonio Gibson on their team long term? But I think he has the potential to have a monster season and be a top 10 running back. But it's just, is he going to get used that way? But talent-wise, it's all there. Number 13 is Saquon Barkley. So he's coming off a few injury-riddled seasons. But before that, he had been one of the most explosive players in the NFL with the ability to score on any play. The talent is still there. He could be a great running back, but I don't think he's ever going to get back to being that guy who the Giants drafted with the number 2 overall pick. But he could still be a really, really good player. He may not ever get back to being the explosive guy, but he could still be a good running back that's going to average, 800, 900 yards a season. Number 12 is Ezekiel Elliott. So he's been really good ever since he came into the league. I think he could be even higher. He's had at least 1,000 yards in 4 of his 6 seasons in the NFL. And in the 2 seasons he didn't have 1,000 yards, he had at least 975 yards. So he's remaining productive even though he's splitting carries with Tony Pollard. And he's still a very talented running back. He's obviously not producing at the level he was when he first came into the league, as you'd expect that he slowed down a little bit. But some people were saying he had a few down years. He had over 1,000 yards last year, so I don't understand how that's a down year. That's still pretty good. And something with Zeke you also don't see with a lot of running backs is he's got the ability to stay healthy. He's only missed 9 games in his entire 6-year career, so that's another thing that a lot of running backs on this list struggle with. Number 11 is DAndre Swift. So he hasn't been overly productive in his career, but the talent is definitely there. He's a really, really good dual threat running back. And I think he's going to have a breakout season this year. establishing himself as the true number 1 running back and showing the Lions they really don't need to have a 1A, 1B situation with Swift and Jamal Williams. So Swift at number 11. Number 10 is Christian McCaffrey. So he's a very, very talented running back, top 5 potential, but he's always hurt. He's played 10 combined games over the past 2 seasons. When healthy, he's an elite running back. He's ran for 1,000 yards twice, and has also had 1,000 receiving yards once in his career, but he just can't stay on the field, which is why he's so low. But if he's been producing, even if he hasn't hit 1,000, which we'll see a case of that in a few minutes, so make sure to stay tuned for that, he would still be much higher. Number 9 is Najee Harris. So he's another dual threat running back. He could run, he could catch. He piled up 1,200 rushing yards as a rookie last year behind a terrible offensive line and also did not fumble. Plus, he added just under 500 yards through the air. I think he's in line for another monster season, especially because there's some uncertainty with quarterback in Pittsburgh. But I do have a concern for Najee Harris if he'll be able to stay healthy given the heavy workload that the Steelers are most likely going to give him. Number 8 is Aaron Jones. So he's another dual threat running back. He's going to be splitting some work with A.J. Dillon. His rushing production may drop this season, but I think he's going to take the next steps to pass catcher, and he's already one of the best pass catchers because now the Packers have to help replace Davante Adams, and I think Aaron Jones is going to be someone they lean on a lot in the passing game. But he's really good at both. Number 7 is Alvin Kamara. So this is what I was talking about, where he's actually never hit 1,000 rushing yards or 1,000 receiving yards in his career, but he's just a good overall player as he's never had under 1,300 scrimmage yards in a season, which is obviously rushing yards, passing yards, like that. Or not passing yards because why would he be throwing the ball, but receiving yards is what I meant. But Alvin Kamara at number 7. Number 6 is Austin Ekeler. So last year he showed us what he can be when he's healthy. He had 20 touchdowns combined rushing and receiving. He was also a very valuable weapon in both the rushing and passing attack. He's one of the top receiving backs in the league. Plus he's an above average runner. So Austin Ekeler at number 6. Number 5 is Joe Mixon. So he showed what he can do last season when he's healthy, a lot like Austin Ekeler. Although not as good of a pass catcher, but I think as an overall runner, he's better. He had over 1,200 rushing yards. Also had the ability to catch passes for the first time in his career, and he was good at that too. I think a lot of guys are low on Joe Mixon, having him at like 8 or 9. I think he's top 5, and that's why I have him at number 5. Number 4 is Dalvin Cook. So he's another player that has injury concerns, but with Dalvin Cook, he's not going to miss a whole lot of time. He's only going to miss a few games a season. He's an explosive running back, isn't the best pass catcher, but he can still be very good as a pass catcher, and I think we're going to see his pass catching role increase, as Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell said they want to be more of a pass-first offense, and I think Dalvin Cook, because he's so good with the ball in his hands, I think they're going to try to get the ball into his hands a lot. Number 3 is Nick Chubb. So he's a great, fast, powerful running back. He's going to break a lot of tackles. He isn't the biggest receiving threat, but he's that dominant when he's just running. He's going to run you over. Or just run around you. He's so fast. He doesn't need to be an elite receiver to be an elite running back. And something people don't realize with Nick Chubb is he's splitting work with Kareem Hunt. And it's not 50-50, but Kareem Hunt is definitely taking some of the work from Nick Chubb. And Nick Chubb is still one of the league's top rushers from year to year. Number 2 is Jonathan Taylor. So he comes in at number 2 after he led the NFL in rushing yards a season ago, where he had a breakout season. And he's run for over 1,000 yards in each of his first 2 seasons. And number 1 is Derrick Henry. So he's coming off a broken foot, and that is a serious injury. Plus, he's already 28 years old. But I think he could return to being that dominant Derrick Henry he was before the injury, as he ran for almost 1,000 yards in 8 games. So he was on pace for about 2,000 yards. But another concern I have for Derrick Henry is, can he stay healthy? Because he's been overworked a lot in his career. He's carried the ball over 1,400 times this far in his career. So, Derrick Henry is my number 1, Jonathan Taylor number 2, Nick Chubb number 3. I've definitely seen people say Jonathan Taylor is number 1. Let me know who the number 1 running back is in the comments below. If there's another spot you disagree with on my running backs list, also make sure to let me know in the comments. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.